YouTube, another update to the Ducati Scrambler track bike project. A bit of a reveal, maybe depending on what I used for the title of this YouTube video, maybe a bit of clickbait, but anyway, you have to trust me on this. I did get this thing running a few days ago, but I needed to make some adjustments, and I'm about ready to fire it up again. Cold start this time. Just to prove that it actually works, and I think I might do a follow-up video about the Ignitech system in terms of how I wired it, because there is some information out there about using it on a carbureted bike to improve the ignition system that's currently on it. Those older pre-fuel injected bikes, but again, this was a fuel injected engine. It's got a Hall effect sensor running off, I believe, the crank, or at least a gear-driven piece adjacent to the crank, and it does make for more accurate timing. But anyway, that's a whole nother ball of wax that we'll get into. So here's my setup here. Of course, safety first. Get the fire extinguishers handy. You'll notice that the Kian flat slide carbs that I'd found in Japan are not on the bike. When I was sort of working through problems last weekend, I wasn't getting it to fire. I wasn't even getting a bit of a backfire, nothing. So again, I ended up changing two things at the same time when you're sorting out problems is the wrong thing to do. But anyway, I had a sense that for some reason the Kian carbs, being older, used, that sort of thing, were not feeding the cylinders any fuel. I did notice that on the carb attached to this cylinder, the accelerator pump was pretty weak, like it was just trickling in, whereas on the other carburetor it got a nice good stream of fuel. So certainly I've got a rebuild kit for the accelerator pump for the one Kian carb coming in, and I'll rebuild that, and I may revert back to this, but the reason why these Chinese carbs are on here is that they seem to work, and I shouldn't be surprised. Other guys have had them work, and basically it's a de-engineered Kian carb that some person from China has basically stole the intellectual property of. But anyway, I was able to bolt them back on, and the other thing I realized too is that I don't know if it has to do with the setup of the Ignitech. I was going by the wire color, in that the orange lead attached to the vertical cylinder and the white lead to the horizontal cylinder, and you can see that those have been reversed. So once I got these carbs on, I was getting a bit of a backfire, so I was getting some fuel in there, I was getting a spark, and then I thought, well, why the heck isn't it running? And just on a whim, I swapped the leads, knowing that fixed a problem with this bike running the old style of ignition, and it not immediately, but it started to properly want to run, and I think I'd found the solution. So again, another carburation problem, partly solved by electrical, and that's the mantra, right? 90% of carburetor problems are electrical. So I've got my little accessory fuel bottle there. I did notice that the tachometer was running twice as high as it should. So rather than change the setting in the Ignitech with a laptop, the first thing I did is I changed the setting on this Koso dash here. So I don't know if I've found the right setting, but it was worth a try. So yeah, here we go. Again, it hasn't been running. Pipes are totally cold. And apologies for the background noise. It's in the middle of the day, so it'll be interesting to see. These carbs have a choke circuit on it, which most FCRs do not. So again, I haven't used this enough to figure out, like, do I use the choke, or certainly by twisting the throttle, it gets a great squirt of fuel down the cylinders, which is how you start a bike with real Kian carbs, because it does not have a choke circuit on it. So all right, so we've got power onto the dash, and it cycles through. Got some oil temperature there too. Better turn on the fuel here so we get some flowing down. Meanwhile, the stock tank is at Brent at Ironcraft. He's mocking up a fuel petcock for me. I've got an inline filter and then a quick brake disconnect for the fuel line, so I'm going to run a splitter to this. So we got power, we got fuel, got the engine run. So I'll give it a couple squirts of fuel with no choke and see what it does. You can actually hear it. Contact. Yeah, so you can see the dash was running twice as high. So maybe I will turn that off. See if I can reset this dash. What was it at? Maybe I need to cycle it off and on. Oh, maybe these are the two buttons. There we go. The buttons to set this are on the back. So 4-cylinder, 1-stroke. Two-cylinder, 1. Oh. It almost needs it because it has a wasted spark. It's sometimes, so let's say it's a 2-stroke. Can I make that 0.5? No, 2, 3, 4. Maybe I'll do that. That might tell it that it's firing every stroke. Okay, we shall see. So that's definitely the right RPM signal now. Just giving it a little bit of throttle to keep it running. Like a lot of Ducatis, certainly with the air-cooled ones, you know, and anyone running FCRs, you do need to sort of just give a little bit of a breathe on the throttle to keep it running. So these are my rebuilt exhaust cans. So I had a pair of dented GPR cans. The outsides of them were pretty rough looking. They were, I think, stainless steel. And I was able to get them to slip fit into some aluminum sleeves from a Bimoda exhaust. Shortened them up to 10 inches in length. Repacked them. Used some proper exhaust rivets, as you can see. And reassembled them. So bit louder than some bikes, but certainly not obscene. I think overall it's going to be a better exhaust solution than a 2-into-1. Everything I've read is that 2-into-1 in a V-twin ends up with some sort of compromise, I think. So the oil temp is increasing. See if we can lay off the throttle here once it's warmed up. There we go. So again, the super quick turn throttle is, you know, also makes for a bit of a sticky, I guess, throttle turn. So I do want to redesign the cables. That you can see is way too sharp a turn with another fitting. I can probably straighten out that cable pull. But as you can see, this TZ250 throttle tube does have some pretty significant pull to it. So probably something less aggressive would be better in the long run. So obviously some adjustments to the jets are going to be in order. needles, I think. So I've got some different tapered needles on order based on some recommendations of a guy in the UK who's used these carburetors before. But again, you know, no black smoke coming out the back, no white smoke. Returns to a decent idle. So yeah, overall, I gotta tell you, these Chinese carbs do work. So a bit of a backfire there. Certainly some tuning needs to be done. But yeah, again, the thing works in principle anyway. Sounds pretty damn good as well. So yeah, that throttle cam is too aggressive, I think. So I'll have to get a more gradual one. It just, I think, overwhelms the fuel feed, and will just lead to some backfiring or some real herky-jerky. So anyway, it's a win in my books. And obviously you can see the neutral light is still on. Oil pressure light is off. So not bad by all accounts in terms of how it runs. No leaks. But yeah, definitely some carburetor tuning is in order. And so the interesting thing will be, you know, as I work through development, I guess, of this thing, is, you know, I actually already hooked up the vacuum gauges and ran them off. There's some nipples on the intake manifold on each side, and I was able to get them, you know, balanced at idle at least, just with some adjustments of the coarse idle screw, you know, to make sure the same amount of fuel feed is coming in. So in terms of the length of the intake track on both the horizontal and vertical cylinder, you know, they're within millimeters of each other. What I don't understand, because I didn't take fluid dynamics or theoretical physics, of course, is that this does have a bend to it, not quite 90 degrees, but almost. And that's a straight shot. So, you know, they're probably, I can only assume there's going to be some balancing issues between the two carburetors that I may be able to tune out, I may not, because with the other key and flat slide carbs, the float bowl design of one of them allows it to sit almost straight up and down, and that means that the intake shot, I guess, or path is very similar between the two of them, same length, that sort of thing. So, you know, it's one of those things where part of me thinks, well, geez, if I can get this thing to run well with these, you know, Chinese carburetors, that's great. Kind of like a win for the little guy. Not the People's Republic of China, who've ripped off a Japanese company to design these carbs, but still, you know, it's like, oh, I got this thing to run pretty good on cheap carbs. So that I'm not sure how I would be able to sort that out. Again, whenever I've sort of posed this scenario online, Facebook or forums, I get totally different answers, one to the other. So we'll have to see. But I do know that an intake tract like that's curved and one that's straight, even though that's the same length, there's going to be a difference there. And maybe I've tuned it out just by running the vacuum gauge off the intake manifold to get that balanced, but who knows? Anyway, so yeah, that's where things are at right now. So it runs. You know, one of those things when you build bikes on a limited budget, you know, bought a used engine, bought a used frame, hoped it would work, and it actually did. So yeah, I'm kind of happy that I got the tach set up properly now. And yeah, the next step, once I get the fuel tank back, is, you know, some gentle road tests. I still need to get the sprocket machined so the bike will actually move under its own power. But I'm, you know, pretty pleased that this thing works the way it does. So definitely I should, again, it's tough to read plugs when you've just got it sitting static like this. It really does need a dyno with a sniffer in each pipe. Although the crossover here, you'd almost need to read the air fuel mixture in each individual exhaust pipe to get a more accurate picture. But anyway, I'm starting to ramble on here. But as you can tell, shut off the fuel. Certainly pretty happy with things are at right now, and it's one of those things where basically the bike is 90% done, but there's still 50% left to go. All the fine details like the correct throttle tube for these flat slides and that sort of thing. I as I said in one of my other videos, like the idea of going into 1 into 2 splitter I don't quite like. I like the two separate cables, so we'll have to adjust that, and hopefully I can get basically a mirror of one of these to go here as well. So again, there's no 90-degree cable or anything like that, and then a more gradual turn on the throttle I think would be better. The other thing too, of course, is that these are not properly secured. So I've got a shorter one of these on its way from Japan, 150 millimeters, so right where that black mark is, and just the idea of fixing this and setting it up so it mounts roughly like that, and the muffler straps and all that sort of stuff. You can tell this has started to not being secured. It is clamped here, but certainly not enough. We need to get that oriented correctly so it stays put. So anyway, I said I'd stop waffling, but even without the bodywork on it, I think that's a pretty snazzy looking bike. I posted these pictures online, but third time is a charm, even though this is another slightly used master cylinder. It's a Brembo. I can get rebuild parts if I need to. Is this still weeping a bit? Damn it. I don't know if that's coming from the hose or from the rubber seal here, but anyway, yeah, it's the proper ratio anyway, and that it certainly clasps the calipers properly. I'm running twin front discs again, and that should be what we need. So again, I don't know if this is weeping a bit from this hose here, although you can see here that wiggles a bit more than my liking, so it might be the rubber seal around here started to fail a bit, and a new rubber seal and a new nipple there should be the solution. So again, a few more online orders of minor little things that I need to order, usually from the States or from some online vendors, but yeah, the thing runs as it's supposed to. So I'll keep playing with this and posting some more updates as they come along. So anyway, thanks for watching, and any ideas or suggestions around the effect of equal manifold length but different, one having a curve, the other one having a much slighter curve, as you can see. If anyone has any ideas, that's like an old-time hot rodder solution, I think, that someone might be able to tell me. So anyway, nearly 20 minutes of making some noise and rambling on, but anyway, we'll leave it there. Like and subscribe. Check back soon.